Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, the weeping willow will weep no more. Well, at least in this pot. Apparently I even wired these down. So we'll go ahead and get rid of the wire down below. Those are my drain holes on my log. Oh, and incidentally, a little cheat log here, a little cheat piece of wood, so the log sits the way I want it to sit. Now I can take this one off, and this stump of one off. There we go. So here's my little elongated forest of weeping willows. So we'll get save some soil. We'll put this up here for another time. Just salvage some of the soil. And get these aluminum wires out for recycling purposes. Let's do the same thing with this one. There's one of my drain screens. This one had a really nice, fun radial root pattern going. I could see little tiny roots growing all over this one, but thanks to the critters, we were not able to salvage 2 out of the 3 trees. So let's go ahead and see what we have with the tree that did survive. And by survive, I mean barely, because this was a stub too, as you can see, which we'll trim down a little bit today after we get it in the pot. And the last wire out of there. We have a nice little dense pocket of soil here, so let me show you again the log that I created. I just scooped out some of the log a little bit. We got our drain hole screened up, and there's not a whole lot. It's almost like a slab planting. Hold on, time out, airplane. That must have been a private jet. It was very loud, very low, and very fast. We carry on. So we're going to put this just into one of my shallow oval pots and keep this root system nice and shallow. It's shallow already, not very deep. We seem to have what appears to be a nice 360-degree radial root pattern. And I think I'm going to go dunk this into the pond and give it a wash. Here we go. Give it a dunk into the pond. Definitely have a little more dirt in there. Accumulated watering on that log. This was, I believe, a cutting. I'm a little surprised that there's still so much organic dirt matter in there. Now, happy August, everybody. This is the 1st of August. Not the best time to be repotting most trees. Our weeping willows take on a lot of water, recover very fast, root very fast. And so I'm less worried about this tree this time of year than many other trees. This is still in experiment mode. I've been wanting to grow willows for a long, long time, and I keep having critter chop. So we're just going to take better care of them in the winter and in the early spring and make sure that we can continue to get some positive direction growth instead of negative. All right. And go ahead and just trim around the edge here just a little bit. And I think we're going to go dunk it in the water one more time. After a final soak into the pond, I'm going to put this guy right here. It is moving a little bit from left to right with this wonky curve, so I can put it off center just a little bit. And we'll go ahead. And the roots are all spread out nice and radially right now. We need them to grow a lot more. I'm going to go ahead and put in some of my bonsai soil that I have over here. So I'm not going to wire this one in this time. I'm going to let it go all natural. We'll get a couple rocks on here for early support, and then let the roots take hold like they did in that log. I think it spent about a year and a half in that log. This was the second year, I guess. They were put in there last year, so they had last year's most of the growth season, and then some this year. But of course, this year's growth was completely from the chop up. So this is a 100% brand new tree this year. So if you want a tree that is really good about growing fast, you're going to really like the willows. You can go get a cutting from any tree in your neighborhood. Make sure you ask permission if it's someone's tree. And they just grow super, super fast. They root fast. You don't even need root hormone, and they're going to grow super fast. So I've got this really wonky tree. Now I'm not going to do much of anything to this tree. I've got this super big weep over here, but I did cut back some of the roots earlier. So to prevent this from completely leaning over, I will cut this branch off right here. Now this is a little bit thin, but I probably could go like that and put that in the ground or in some water and get roots just fine. This will help it sit upright a little bit more, and I've got all this growth on here now. That might have been a little bit of scale actually right there. I do have a little bit of Japanese beetle leaves on a couple of these. Got some new buds growing, possible new branches coming up here. So this is fine. This isn't going to be a pretty tree right now. I just wanted to keep it alive. It's almost like slip potting, but I did cut a few roots off. And in the act of raking, we got a few roots off. But now we have this tree. We're going to get my concave cutters and take care of that. So we're going to go down about this low and cut that off. Yep, completely gone. See if I can get a little bit cleaner. There we go. Just starting to get into some live tissue here. And there now, this will heal over time, and we have this natural curving tree. I hope it kind of comes up and goes back upright a little bit, and we'll get all these weeping willows down the road. The problem with some weeping willows is oftentimes you have to wire the branches. You let go and they want to go back up. It's only these really long shoots that start to hang after a while. So if you can get your trunk to last and get thicker, the new growth is going to be part of what's going to be weeping naturally, and then you might have to wire some branches. The downfall of willows, I've said in other videos, you can check out the playlist for my weeping willows. You get a lot of random dieback on willow. So if you love this branch this year, next year it could die, or this one up here or up here. So you have to be very careful, and and don't let the critters get them. That's one of my biggest goals for this next chance for this tree. We're going to get this thing watered. I think we'll go dunk it in the pond and put it on the shelf. Now you have to be careful when you dunk your pots into a pond like that. If you have perlite, if you have pumice, you notice that stuff starts to float. it might float away from your pot entirely. So you have to be careful and can't go too fast. It is sufficiently soaked, super wet. Willows love all that water. It'll be fine sitting here on the bench in its new spot with all the larch behind it, getting all the full sun. Got the rocks on here for some weight to hold it in place in case it gets a little windy the next couple days. Let those roots take hold. So next we're going to work on another tree that, well, when I looked at it the other day, I noticed some crack in the bark and I got a little nervous. So let me show you that footage first while I set it up. In about 5 minutes, my wife and I are going to go and walk to a local brew pub and have a pizza and a beer. I thought I'd just go take a walk through the garden as she was finishing up something she needed about 5 minutes left with. And I came and looked at my workshop Procumbens Nana from a year ago May. So this year I've done very little pruning on it, and I'm not going to get into some big, huge effort of a prune or clip or anything on this one, but I noticed when I was taking a peek at my tree, I noticed a crack. Can we see the crack right here by the knife? There's a crack right there. Let's open it up a little bit brighter. Right in here. See that? And when I looked in there, it seems like there's something that could be creepy crawly in there. Almost like some kind of grub. So I'm going to cut some wood right here. Like I'm going to create a shari. And I'm going to see what might be back here. It is not a creepy crawly. Interesting. It looked so much like a creepy crawly that I took out the knife. So I can create a deadwood feature on this branch in the future and make this a little bit more of an attractive shari. But you can never be too sure. With a crack like that, the split's down here, and it comes up here, and now we can create maybe some natural deadwood on this tree. And I'm now going to be able to go out to dinner knowing that there isn't a critter, some kind of caterpillar grub type thing, eating away at my tree. So we just created a little bit of deadwood right there. It's going to spiral up the tree, and we'll see with the next repotting of this plant what we do with that guy right in there. But thank goodness, thumbs up, that was not a critter. So here we have it. This was the spot I thought there was a creepy crawler in there. Now I don't know what kind of boar would be in my juniper. But we have this now shari, kind of like a gin when we shave off all the bark off of a branch and make a gin. This is a shari to give maybe some deadwood look and make it look a little like an older tree. It's been through some stuff in its life. This is a Procumbens Nana, the Japanese garden juniper. And this is the tree that I worked on about a year and a half ago, May of 21. So a little bit less than a year and a half, at the workshops with the Minnesota Bonsai Society. Everybody in the May workshop gets a juniper like this. And I purposely left a lot of foliage on. A lot of people walk out of that workshop and they cut off a little bit too much foliage, I think. And one of the things to keep in mind is we repot it with them, we trim a little bit of the roots, and we prune a little bit. And that's three major functions to a tree at the same time. And we really couldn't do that unless, one, we had a really healthy tree, and we had a tree that was a little bit more full of strength and vigor, and could bounce back. And because it was May, before the tips were elongating, it was a good time to repot, good time of year. And if we have a big enough pot and don't cut off too much of the roots and leave some of that soil, you know, not bare rooted, we generally can be okay. But it's asking a lot for a beginner to do 3 major things to their tree. Got a little death on the back over here. This one's kind of dying off and fading away. I think we're just going to go ahead and clean that one out right away. So I fertilized this one pretty heavy that first season last year after we got it in the pot. And this was a stump. I'll see if I can dig up an old picture of this from a while ago. This was a stump, and it had 2 or 3 little sprigs on it. And now I've got a little pom-pom of a branch there. So it brought everything real tight and compact, and I probably have 2 or 3 branches in there. I can choose maybe the 2 best ones here, if not today, in the near future. Because now there's plenty of growth here to even provide more back budding if we wanted to get more back budding back below. So I have erred more on the side of caution with pruning the foliage of the junipers of late to provide a lot of back budding. So let's show you some more examples of that. If we open up this right here, let's do it this way. All of this is back budding right here. All of that. Super nice back budding. So now I can cut this entire branch off and we can choose one of these branches later in life. And if I cut this off now and let this shoot up this year and next year, shooting up next year is going to make this even thicker of a trunk. So again, you work on a trunk first, then the primary branches, secondary, tertiary. All these fine ramifications up here in this tree are really not part of the design in the end. They'll all be cut off eventually. Hard for new beginners to get that sense and be able to cut off branches. But again, we don't want to cut them off unless we have stuff inside to support it. And look at this tree on the inside. Now, if this gets super bushy and I let all of this grow, that's going to be shaded out. So I'm going to go ahead and look through this tree today, and I'm going to see if I can find a couple places that I feel comfortable trimming it down a little bit more and promoting more back budding. Here's some more back budding for you right here. All of this right here and here and here and here, back budding, all this could poof out and hide this little nub. This is where the branch kind of swoops up and goes back that way. But I can get rid of this entire branch now. I can get rid of this entire branch over here, and these are going to come out and grow out and fill out those spots. And then we'll be able to make some more decisions down the road. So I have a lot of opportunity in here. Here's some more back budding right here. Look at this growth right in here. This is a back bud on this branch right here that now I can cut this entire branch off. That if this were the front, it's coming at us, I wouldn't be so worried about taking it off anymore. So we're going to make this tree a little more compact today. It'll have the rest of August, it'll have all of September, and maybe even some of October to do some final little growth, or it's just going to set a lot of new stuff for the next growing season in the spring. So let's take a peek and see what we might cut off. Now the front of this tree was that. This is kind of in our way. And we have this, we didn't know what was going to happen. This also could be the front. But I don't like this branch out in our face and curling around as much. I like how this one curves around. And now that we got rid of that fake bug and we have a little shari there, it's given this tree a little bit of character. And we could bring the shari now, maybe curve it down over around this little old branch cut wound here. We can bring it around here so it has some swirl down in here and it'll show some age. So if this is the front, we are going to look at this branch right here. And here we go. We're going to make our first decision. I've got so much back budding in there that I'm going to go ahead and I'm just cutting that branch right off. Now we can see our tree. I made our tree have less noise right here, and it's kind of going more left and right, and we might bring these in too, but I can see and I can focus maybe more on that shari. But look at all that growth in there for the future. Now what about this one too? That's too big. And there's a lot of back budding on here too. What if I cut that off? And cut that off, and we have all of this new growth, which could make this tree thicker here if I so desire to keep that branch. So we'll leave it there for now, but I might even cut that one off. I don't know that I need that one. This one's growing back into the tree, a little death on that one. This one's growing a really odd direction. It kind of grows back back towards that way, and it's not really a windswept tree, so I'm just going to cut that off. And so now we're still going to work on this side of the tree because it's kind of still out in our face out in front here. And so I can look under the tree here and see what I've got going on. I've got all that back budding over there that can create new branches. And look, there's back budding right there. So the question always is this enough growth to support this branch? It probably is. I could probably cut this all off here. The question is this enough back budding to support that branch? Well, it is if I keep some of this other growth. But I think I'm just going to cut this one right off in support of this growth in here. But now that's being shaded out, so I'm going to have to trim some of this up here. And I'll trim this one right here because I have all this back budding right here. We'll get these long spindly ones out of there and now promote all of this back budding. So everything that you can see right in this area now is back budding. This is back budding, this is kind of back budding, these two and back here, all of that's going to become the new tree. So again, from the front, I just kind of made it look a little bit more lopsided. We've got this and this now. This is super thick down here. Look at all this back budding right here. So here was a cut point right here. Here's a cut point. This is back budding. This is back budding. This is an old branch that's actually in a curve. We're just going to cut it all out right now. Because as this is growing, now look at this right here. And we can get new branches. And we might be able to take this branch all the way off to this new growth eventually, right? This is kind of thick out here. And so we don't have any reverse taper per se. But this is kind of it's thick, a little bit thinner, maybe a little bit thinner, but then it is almost a little thick down in here. We got a lot of stuff going on here with this branch. And I can cut some downward facing stuff here if I can get in here and see it. Here we go, and there's an old nub right there. So sorry about my head was probably in that one. Right there, there's the old wound. Let's cut that a little bit shorter. Oh, and I got a little bit too much. Look at that nice growth I got. But look at all of this growth I still have right there. Okay, so we'll let all this see what it does. And you see how you can't see the cut mark here? You will not see this cut mark next summer. And then this is all going to grow out too, and this might come out this way. We might take this whole bottom branch off. But it also swings back around here. So let's go to that branch. Now this branch has a nice fun branch here for a kind of a fun pad. We can keep it down here, but it's definitely too long. I do like the shape of it. This piece is growing up. So I don't know how much of this I want to keep. This one's kind of growing down. So if we isolate it, it's a nice little pad. Right here is a nice little pad. I'm going to shorten this one. I'm going to shorten the inside part of it. This is one growing up. Okay. So if I was in a wiring mood, I could wire this down maybe a little bit over like this, and we've got this nice pad growing right here. And again, to make this maybe match up with the rest of the pad, I can cut that one off. And now I've got this round pad here with things that want to grow up. And it's kind of connecting with this right here. This is another future pad, but it grows from way back here, which is kind of an odd direction. So we might want to promote things growing up. I'm going to get rid of an old branch that's just thin and going up right there. So let's just pause for a moment and take a peek now. So I've got this set up for a nice pad one day. And look, this amount of foliage I kept is plenty of foliage, maybe twice as much as I need to support this back budding. So next season, maybe I cut this whole branch out and this becomes the new pad out here, and we get rid of this. Because this would be the thinner when we go thick to thinner over here, and this could lay out real nicely right here. So now we got this big guy here. It's just in our face. It grows at us. I don't like it. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to cut it off. Now I can see my tree. And again, here's some back budding. This one's growing back into the tree. We don't want that. This one grows down and back towards the tree. I don't want that. But some of these right here will grow this new branch out here, and this one will grow here, and these could become new branches. Now they're a little parallel right now, not the most attractive, but we'll see what happens. And then back here, I've got these two here, but this one competes with this right here, so let's just cut that off, and now these two have their own little plane to be on. Here and here, and this is growing more up. But we'll see what's going to happen there because, again, look everybody. Look at all the back budding I have here. So I could cut that whole branch off to promote new growth. And I will grow this one growing up at the moment off. This one growing down is a little obnoxious. I think I'm just going to cut it here and just promote more back budding back there. So now we have this really short and compact over here. It's no longer a bush. And we've got this side to contend with. So we have some back budding here. We've got this branch that all of a sudden grows up and has like a T on it. Let's get rid of this side. I don't know what we're going to do with this, but look at all the back budding down here. So if we were to take that completely off, if I would have done that when I first repotted this, none of this would have grown here. Not as fast anyway. Now we have all of these branches to do some stuff for this part of the tree. And this is shooting up. We got some tangling back here. So let's work on this guy right here now. Some back budding right here. Here's some yellowing in here. This is growing back towards the trunk. This is growing straight up. This is how we can clean a tree, right? And start to see some of the design of the tree by cleaning some of those branches that do grow straight up. Trim some more there. We have a nice split down in here. So this is 2 layers of branches here. We got 2 competing here. So my decision is, which one do I keep? The branch is the one that goes back out towards my garage and then jets this way like 100, like more than 90. That's like only a 45-degree angle in here where it jets straight back. We got some stuff up here to grow some height. But do I cut one of these 2 branches out? You know, I could wire one down. Do I want it higher or lower? If I thin some of this out, this will get even more sun. It's a unique branch right now, kind of bizarre in the design. Some people might just cut this one right off. I might do that in the future. We're going to keep it to keep the trunk growing thicker and see how this dead shari will enhance or hurt the tree. We'll see. So let's go ahead and just do this. If we cover this up, do we like the tree? If we cover this up, do we like the tree? That seems too long back there and in a different direction. So this is a personal thing now. Some of you might like up, some of you might like down. I'm going to go up and cut that off. Big cut, everybody. And then there's our tree. So we kind of have this section over here, and then this branch that wants to come over that way, and this little puff down here. So if you look at the back of the tree, this design is shooting towards this stuff. I really don't like that. So actually, I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut all this branch off for all this new young growth. And we'll see what grows. There. So this was growing here, going to compete with this one, so I just took it off. And so now we have this pad over here, and this all new stuff growing, and then this can focus over here with this branch that wants to grow that way. And then there's this to grow out and fill that space, this can grow out and fill this space. So we have a lot of future potential there that'll help this tree to do bigger and better things. And now the nice thing about doing this now instead of when I did the workshop, if I did this during the workshop, all of this stress with the foliage, all of the stress of the repot, including the roots being pruned, this tree would not have been able to handle it as much. So now, a year and a half later, I've got all this back budding, I'm cutting off all the extra stuff, we're going to fertilize this thing heavy in the fall, and then we're going to have it all set up for a new spring of growth. So I just have to tidy up a little bit in here. What do we have left? We have some upward facing branches that I don't want. We have one that goes just down. These 2 are starting to compete with each other a little bit. Let's go back in here. We got some downward facing that just competes with this nice little chunk down here that we might keep someday. this whole section goes down, so if I cut it off, now it brings it all back up, so we still have this tree here. And if this branch doesn't work here, everybody, I got the back budding all around it to support future growth. We'll just see if we want to keep that branch long term starting next year. So it's a little bit light and airy. This one's a little bit light and airy. Again, we have a couple things that are kind of shooting down on this one, creating some havoc with the new growth that wants to go in there. Let's cut this last down one here. And now that one's thinned out. So we thinned out these two top ones here. We've got this back bud section right here. This tree could be cut right here eventually for this branch right here. We could cut this whole thing off and then let that take off. But we'll go ahead and we're going to keep it for a little while longer. A couple more top facing branches. A couple more down ones. And just opening up some of the clutter in here. Again, we want most of our pines to be laying this way, not this way. So if it's this way, all the buds will shoot up and grow up towards the sky. So we just thinned out this top here to hopefully grow up. And we just are thinning it out a little bit still. And all the foliage that I have left in this section can still promote some back budding back here, but here this section already is doing well and is strong, and we'll see what we're going to keep at a little bit later date. I'll take this one off because it's competing with the design of the tree. And let's take a peek at our tree. Well, there we have it. I think we're just going to stop there for the day. So everything that's left, back budding, back budding, back budding, back budding, back budding, and back budding, back budding, and back budding. Everything here now, about 50% of what's left was not even there last year, and it's going to be setting up the tree for some really fun growth next year. And then I think next year we'll see which one of these are really going to take off, and we'll thin that out. I don't know if I can thin it out today at all. I might be able to take off. Sure, let's take off this one that's going up. Take one on the inside in there. Let's take this one off. Let's take this top facing one off. There we go. So now I have about 3 branches in there to choose next year to see which one is going to take off and do really, really well. So it's looks a little less puffy. Got a branch that grows this way, a branch that kind of comes out this way, and one branch that does go this way. And one that goes down here. Is this a full branch? Here it is. We can cut this one off right there. And we can cut that off right there. Now we have a little bit more of that flat pad looking feel right here. Just a little bit. But they're too thin to do anything too small, but we just made it look a little less pom-pommy. And we've got ourselves a trimmed up juniper. The Procumbens Nana, I think, is ready to go back on the shelf. Or the bench. You know, whatever we're calling it today. There we go. We have it back on the bench with all the tropicals and everything under the shade here. It's starting to get its late afternoon sun. Tomorrow we're supposed to hit 90 degrees. It might feel like 100. We have to definitely keep an eye out for the tree. So I wanted to remind everybody that when I first looked at this tree the other day, it was the little crack in the bark that I noticed, and I took a closer look, and I thought I saw what looked like some kind of caterpillar-y type thing that was in there. And it was just the cambium layer snapping away, cracking from the part of the trunk there. So just for whatever reason, it was just growing up too fast, a growth spurt, who knows. But I had to take a peek at it. So it's just another reminder to look at your trees. I've got a lot of trees, so sometimes it's hard and you might miss something like that. So just look at the trees as often as you can and take a look for the scale, take a look for a crack in the bark, take a look for some dead leaves or some fungus, and look at those trees, and so you can act a little quicker. I did want to work on this tree in the next couple of weeks, and so just finding it yesterday with the crack just kicked it into gear a little bit sooner. So we got that taken care of, which was really, really nice. And we got the weeping willow to willow and weep in a brand new pot. We hope that takes off as well. Hey, stay cool with the heat waves all across the country and across the world these days. I hope you're staying cool. I hope your trees are doing well. So take care of you and take care of your bonsai, and we'll catch you very, very soon.